Hello, welcome to the Dr. Joy Show, your prescription for total wellness, and I am your host, Dr. Joy. I know, you see all this beautiful background we have here? Because my fabulous guest is empowering women across many seas, across the other side of the world. But before we get started, you know what we do on the Dr. Joy Show. We take it down with 3 deep breaths. Are you ready? Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. How do you feel? I know I feel great. I want to welcome Professor Dr. Elsie McKee to the Dr. Joy Show. And you are from Princeton Seminary, right?
Yes, thank you.
And I'm so glad you're here. And I'll just talk to the camera again. This magnificent lady, okay, she is the founder of Women Cradle of Abundance. And that organization empowers women from that are from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Yeah, way over there. You are a guided light. And what is your middle name? Because this is where it all starts.
The name that I was given as an infant is Chimunyi. It's a name in the language Chiluba, which is spoken in the Kasai province of the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is where I was born.
Right.
And Chimunyi was my grandmother's name. My grandmother and grandfather were in Congo, and my parents were in Congo. And Chimunyi means a torch, or it means the sap of a particular tree that is a burning sap. So I stand as a Chimunyi.
Torch, fire, something hot, and fast forward, you create Women Cradle of Abundance that is the light for the women in the Congo.
Well, yes, but in fact, I am copying them.
What? How is that?
Well, a group of women in Congo started a nonprofit called Femme Berceau de l'Abondance, which is the French for Woman Cradle of Abundance. And they were working to fight violence against women and female poverty.
Okay.
And when I heard about it, I wanted to get involved.
So how long ago was that you heard about it?
About 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
And I began working with them in 2010 when they started a new phase of Femme Berceau de l'Abondance. We call it FIBA, using the acronym.
Okay.
And they were starting a new project, and the director had just lost her job because she was too strong and too outspoken, and the men were not happy about this. So she was recreating the work of FIBA in her own home.
Is this Mama Monique?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me more about her.
She's an absolutely amazing woman. Mama Monique Misenga Mukuna, also from the Kasai province, although she was born on the different side than I was of the province, and I didn't get to know her as a child. I got to know her as a grown-up. She is remarkably well educated because she had a father who didn't care if girls were not approved in his society. People called them frogs. And
really?
People said, you don't have any children, because he had 11 daughters and 3 sons, and only sons count.
Right, well, yeah, I get it.
But he said, no, my daughters will grow up to be men. What he meant really was not as sexist as it sounds. What he meant was strong and capable.
Right.
And he sent her to school. She was a very good student. She graduated from one of the finest universities. She became a teacher and then a businesswoman, because school system, you don't earn a whole lot of money, and her family was growing, so she went into business to help support her family. And all along, she was trying to work with some of the least of the people around her, the people who were on the street, orphans who were destitute, young girls who had been forced into prostitution because they were starving, women who had been abused or battered. And effectively, she turned that into to a whole job. I mean, she gave up her commerce, her work to support her family, to spend her life working with this social project and doing a little bit of business alongside to be able to feed her family, because she was not ever paid. This was a job that she did.
So it was passionate. It was a passionate
Passion for her.
philanthropic effort.
And in Congo, that doesn't happen very often, because most people are too poor even to feed themselves and send their own children to school.
Right.
Never mind trying to help other people at the cost of their own livelihood.
Wow, she's special.
She is, and she does not hesitate to stand up when she sees injustice. And people don't always like that.
Right.
But she does it. She's a very remarkable woman.
So how long was the organization functioning before you joined? Because you've been there for 8 or 9 years, right? So how long, at what point did Mama Monique start the organization?
Well, she started it in 1999.
Oh,
and
wow.
She and 5 other women organized it. The men thought they were starting a women's revolution, and were not very happy about this.
Oh, I'm sure.
Until they persuaded them that they really were doing perfectly respectable things, and they were not going to object to what the men were doing. But the idea was they had all been working in their church communities, which are dominated by men.
Right.
And doing good work in their church communities, but they wanted a sphere in which they could work without answering to the male authorities. So all along, Mama Monique was working in the church, volunteering, doing the social work, and then alongside she was organizing this nonprofit that did a lot of the same things, but did it under the control of women. And then when some of the church authorities decided that she was being a little disrespectful because she stood up to them, they decided to
remove her from her duties there.
Yes.
So then she became full-fledged with the nonprofit.
Right.
Okay. What, is she married? Is Mama Monique married?
She is widowed, recently widowed. She has 9 children.
Wow.
And she and her husband, thanks primarily to Mama Monique, have put those children through school and through college. The last one graduated from college last spring. So
wow.
all 9 children.
I'm
really
applauding her.
Really amazing.
Amazing work. So tell me more about now the work of Women Cradle of Abundance. Like, what's the premise?
Right. We realized that Mama Monique and her Femme Berceau de l'Abondance, Woman Cradle of Abundance in Congo, were really struggling because they didn't have a place to do their teaching, do their rescue work. There's no such thing as battered women's shelters, no places for women to go, no places really to rescue orphans. So they were doing all this sort of on a shoestring. And I wanted us to be able to support them. They give away half the shoestring. So I decided that we were going to try to find them some more shoestrings. So some friends and I got together and organized a nonprofit that we named Woman Cradle of Abundance for the one in Congo.
Here in the United States.
Here in the States. And it's registered with the IRS, 501c3, although we registered it as FIBA Inc. Because we were using their name. And we discovered Americans were not able to enjoy the French the way we did. So, so now we call it Woman Cradle of Abundance.
Okay.
And we use FIBA for the one in Congo, and Woman Cradle of Abundance for the one here.
Same, but it supports the same initiative.
Right.
Okay.
Which is addressing issues of violence against women, female poverty, which includes their children, widows who have lost everything and still have their children to feed and support, orphans or others. AIDS is not understood. It's very widespread, and it is, when someone dies of AIDS, people think that maybe they have been cursed. And so if it's a man who dies, his wife might be accused of sorcery. If it's parents who die, the children might be accused of sorcery. So if there was an inheritance, they wouldn't get it. The other relatives would take it. So when a man dies of AIDS, quite often his wife is thrown out and has nothing left, or the same with children. So addressing violence is not just physical violence, although there's a lot of that too.
Oh, wow.
But it's also what we might call legal injustice, violence,
right.
as well as the kinds of problems that are faced by anyone who is extremely poor.
Now, I know that you just mentioned that the organization started in 1999. You joined 7 or 8 years later, 8 or 9 years ago. How many women were in the organization in 1999, and how much has it grown to today?
Let's see, I'm not sure exactly how many there were in 1999 in Congo, but I know that the membership in recent years has been about 1,200.
1,200?
Yes, 1,200, give or take a bit. Because these are destitute women.
Wow!
Sometimes they have a little bit, but most of them, part of the problem is that what they need is the ability to see things differently from the way that their very patriarchal society has reared them. So part of what FEBA does is consciousness raising. They don't tell people that they have to change how they look at the world, but they offer them alternatives so that then they can make their own choices. And there are some people who think, well, if FEBA doesn't give me money, then why should I belong? And there are others who realize, no, what I need from FEBA is perspectives, ways of working with other women so I can tell my story, be empowered by it. And there will be education for income generating projects, like the sewing school.
Okay.
But part of it is a question of learning to stand up for yourself. Mm-hmm. Because in
self-confidence.
In Congo, women are not allowed to refuse their husbands anything. And to be...
Hence, that's where the physical violence comes into play if they do have a difference of opinion about something. Okay. So these 1,200 women, do they all come to one central location every day? Where are they housed? You said they were orphans, so they were on the street. Mama Monique takes them in. Is there a school?
Well, that's a very good question. Actually, they are scattered in various places because they're all throughout the city of Kinshasa, which is about 10 million people. But many of them are widows. Some of them are unmarried mothers. Some of them are girls who have become destitute in one way or another.
Right.
Some of them have places to live. Some of them don't. Some of them are on the street. They try to find a place for those. But the goal is that they first have a community which listens and cares and offers counsel and advice and inspiration and encouragement. So as many as want to, as are able, come together once a month for preaching and lecture and singing and dancing and praying, and they can bring their small savings, because there's no possibility to own a bank account. That's way too expensive. But sometimes women can save 50 cents or maybe $1 a month. These are really poor women, and they don't have any way to put it away. So FEBA also runs a micro savings project. Oh, it's so neat to see them after the monthly gathering. Each one brings her 50 cents or her $1, or maybe she's managed to save $2 or $3 this month. And it gets written down in her little blue book and registered and put away, so that if she decides that she's now saved enough, she might be able to start a little business. Or if she has a medical emergency, and that happens, she will at least have a little nest egg. So the monthly gathering is also where they exchange stories, where they learn about projects. For example, if someone says, I would really like to start a small business raising chickens, but I've never raised chickens before. Is there anybody else who's raised chickens who can tell me, give me the ropes so that I know how to do it?
So how did the sewing school come into play? Because these are lovely items you have here. And I'm wearing one of them.
So am I.
Yes.
Exciting question. One of the things that Mama Monique was asking the members of FEBA, she said, we have a lot of young girls who are destitute, and some of them really end up having to prostitute themselves in order to get food. What can we do? And the other women said, one of the most useful ways that a young girl or a woman can support herself is by sewing. Congo doesn't have factories for ready-made clothes. So every village needs a seamstress or a tailor. So if a young girl can learn to sew, and if she has a sewing machine, she can actually support her family.
Wow.
So most of the young girls are the poorest of the poor. There are other sewing schools where you can learn sewing, but you have to pay for that.
Right.
And most people at the
Can't
bottom
afford
can't
it.
afford it. So Mama Monique interviews each potential student to find out what her special needs are, what her family condition is, what her situation is, and if she is really in need and is ready to dedicate herself to the work of learning to sew, she's admitted. They only pay a couple of dollars a month, and that usually goes into feeding them lunch.
Right.
But first, they learn to read and write, because most of these young girls are illiterate.
Okay.
They also learn something about their own human rights.
Okay.
Like, for example, that they don't have to put up with violence. And then they start in on learning how to sew.
Now, I know while we were waiting, you said that you had 2 stories. Would you mind sharing one of the stories now?
I would love to share
Okay.
a story. This is a story, I'm doing it in the first person because we interviewed
Okay.
some of the students and graduates of the
Okay.
sewing school.
Sure.
I am called Makongolo Dina. I am the 3rd of 6 children. Our father died when we were young. We did not go to school, except my oldest brother, who paid his own way. When I was at home, one of my sisters told me that there was a non-profit here where you could study sewing. I wanted to do that. I came and talked with Mama Monique, and she accepted me. When I came, I could not read or write, but now I have learned to read and write, and I am learning to sew. There were many things I did not know, but now I am in the process of learning and advancing. I understand sewing now, and I am making clothes for a 5-year-old child. I am not married, but I have 2 children, a boy of 6 who is in 1st grade and a girl of 8 who is in 3rd. I had lots of problems. There were times when I did not have anything to eat for 3 days and nothing to wear. That is how I got acquainted with a policeman. Policemen are not well paid. He gets $40 or $50 a month, so he does not have enough money to rent a house for his family. But he supports his 2 children. Every few days he brings me about 3,000 or 4,000 Congo francs, which is less than $5, to buy food for the children. Sometimes he gives me 10,000 francs, which is about $8 maybe, to buy them clothes. At the end of the month, when he receives his salary, he pays the school fees for the children. School is not free. I like to sew because in the future, that will allow me to support myself. If I have my work, I will not wander here and there or prostitute myself to have a little money. I will be able to take charge of my life myself.
Wow. So she's empowered. Yeah, that is phenomenal. Oh my goodness. And you said that there's 1,200 ladies. And that's just one. Oh wow. Whew. Okay. So I'm speechless at this point after hearing that. But I want you to share your thoughts on the relationship between the economic issues, spiritual suffering, and increased spiritual strength of these ladies.
Right. Well, in part, you could see already that the story gives you a sense that this is a young girl who had nothing.
How old is she? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I had her birth date, but I didn't keep it on this story. She is probably about 20, 22.
Okay, and she already had 2 kids?
Right.
And
she
one of them
maybe
is
a little
8?
bit closer. Maybe a little older than that. I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
But marriage is often arranged by families at the age of 12 or 14 for the girls.
Okay.
Now, she didn't obviously have a father arranging it because she's orphaned, and her mother was looking after the kids, feeding them as best they could.
Right.
But it's not unusual for young girls to marry or begin a relationship in their teens because that may be the only way they eat. So economic things and spiritual, how do you take care of yourself in spirit if you don't have anything to eat. And one of the things that is so amazing about FEBA is that they attend to all different dimensions of health. For example, some of the people are hungry because they're so poor, but when they eat, they may not have adequate information for nutrition. So one of the things that FEBA does is tell them about the moringa tree. Would you believe that there is...
Yes, and that it comes in. There's the powder,
right?
There's the nut, there's the leaves,
yes.
And a lot of people believe in that. So share your thoughts about moringa.
Well, moringa is kind of a miracle tree. Do you know that the leaves provide 40% of the protein you need? And for people who never get meat,
right,
a moringa addition to their diet can make the difference between malnutrition and actually being healthy.
And you can get it here, and you can get it here in the powder form.
Yes. I didn't realize that.
Yes.
So part of what they do is help people learn how to feed their families better.
Wow.
And help them to make the best use of what little money they can earn. Because many of these women have never had a budget. They've never had money before. If they get a few dollars, a few francs, they immediately spend it for what is most urgent. It probably is something to feed their children or clothes for their children, or if they've managed to feed their children, to pay school fees.
School fees, yes. That's the order of priority.
But the thing is, suppose that they want to start a business, they're not going to have any business sense. So the young girls who have learned to sew, Woman Cradle of Abundance in this country tries to be sure that each one, when she graduates, gets a manual machine so that she can begin her own business. But if she doesn't know anything about finances, she may not realize that machine is going to wear out.
Yeah, it's going to wear out, and then you also have to buy the threads, and you also have to buy the fabric.
And if you don't take care of the machine, one of these days you're going to be
out of business.
Destitute again. So how do you think about the idea of budgeting, putting aside some of your very limited funds so that you can repair the machine, so that it can go on functioning? It's really hard to learn when you are hungry.
Right. So you've touched on physical wellness, nutritional, financial, and also the core foundation of it all is the mental and emotional wellness, because they feel really good about themselves if they can take care of themselves and take care of their families. I get it. Oh my goodness. So how can viewers lend their support?
We would be really, really grateful for anyone who would like to go to our website and look at the projects we're doing, and maybe someone would like to support one of the young girls at school so that she could complete her year of studying, because we're having a hard time paying the teachers and buying the materials.
Okay, so tell me how much it costs to support one girl.
For 1 year's training and all the materials and putting a part aside to pay the teachers, it's probably about $250.
For 1 year?
For 1 year.
$250. Okay. What's the website?
The website is womancradleofabundance.org.
Wow. All right. So do you have any events planned in 2018?
We're starting one very soon. We are starting a launch of our Etsy site. If you would like to be able to buy some of their beautiful creations.
And they're gorgeous.
They really are.
And the manufacture, the stitching is very, very well. The details are there. I mean, they're lovely, lovely clothes.
And most of them you can drop in the washing machine and take out and hang up and put them back on again, which is also a plus.
Yeah, that is. So no dry cleaning fees.
Right.
And you also have housewares.
Yes.
Housewares and also the bracelets.
Yes. The young women make these things. They're trained to make all kinds of material things. So they have little clutches and table mats and napkins. There are shirts, there are dresses, there are pillow covers.
Yes.
This is actual African art. Kuba art made of raffia, sometimes called mud cloth, because that was how they dyed it.
Right.
And the women themselves don't make that. but it comes from the area where Mama Monique and I grew up. And so she buys pieces of this, and the young women sew it into pillows,
Right.
or they put it on
Don't worry about
bags so that you can have a decorated bag with real African art on it.
Oh, that's really nice.
And all of these kinds of things are perfectly easy to use regularly.
So they go to Etsy.com and they can see these?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It will be up by November 15th.
Okay, great. All right, so great. I want to thank you for sharing your light, your torch with me and the viewers about Women Cradle of Abundance. But before we go, I know you have one more story, a short story, and I would like you to end the segment with that story.
Thank you very much. This is another story of a graduate of the sewing school whom we interviewed. Both of these interviews were made in 2015.
Okay.
My name is Boyata Janet. I am the wife of a soldier and I live in Camp Kabila. I'm very happy to sew. When my husband was passing by FIBA, he saw the poster which said they were seeking people who wanted to learn to sew. They're advertising the sewing school.
Mm-hmm.
He talked with me about it, saying, "You like to sew, and I like for you to do it. You're the mother of 3 children whom we must educate." It was my husband who urged me to go, and I will interject that that's very unusual.
Yeah.
This is a really enlightened family. They've also practiced family planning.
Oh.
3 children. I enrolled in 2013, and now I sew very well. When someone sees how I sew, he asks where I learned, and I say, at Mama Monique's. Also, I have brought many young girls to this sewing school. Since the salary of a soldier is not much, I thank God that I can now sew and contribute to our household. I have a sewing machine at my house, and I can earn $20 and pay the school fees for my children. The oldest is in 5th year secondary, the second is in primary 6, the youngest in primary 4. I don't have enough money to open a shop for myself, but in spite of that, we do not lack food. For example, if someone comes with a broken zipper, I can repair it. Or if the pants are too big, I can adjust them. That way we can eat. I thank the Lord for this machine. My husband came the day of graduation and saw me in my beautiful dress. He was very happy when he saw the machine, my graduation present. He said, having a machine was a dream, and now the dream has come true. A machine is something extraordinary in the house. I appreciate Mama Monique very much, and I am happy that she invited me here to speak about my life. Many thanks to Mama Monique because she's done so much for me.
Wow. Well, many thanks to Mama Monique for starting this in 1999. Many thanks to you for joining forces with her on the domestic side 7 or 8 years ago. And I appreciate you being a guest on the Dr. Joy Show. And I know that you told me that Mama Monique is coming to the U.S. probably sometime in 2018. We got to get her here.
Oh, yes.
All right, so we'll have an encore show. But
That
thank
would
you
be
very
wonderful.
much.
Thank you
Professor
so much
Elsie
for
McKee.
letting me share
Sure.
my wonderful, wonderful friends in Congo.
Okay.
They're just amazing.
Thank you. And for those of you watching, listening, empowerment of women is real. And if you have it in your heart to help, go to womencradleofabundance.org and, give. It will be greatly appreciated. Until next time, be blessed, stay healthy. See ya.